slides. That slide is good. Going back to share my screen, make sure I share my screen. That's done. Share screen. So the summer school is over. So at TDSB, I can check all the kids. Any kids I told, I can check how do they do in the other classes. That's pretty easy for us. I have kids who can simply add what is 2 minus 3 without calculator. So they took grade 11 functions, got 80%, physics 90%. They don't know what is 2 minus 3 in the class. It's e-learning. You got it. You got it. It's e-learning. No one can monitor what you do. All right, moving back to 1D. So why do you struggle with 1D? So 1D, you got y minus 10. So first step in, what is the first step in factoring? Greatest common factor, not a common multiple, greatest common factor. So we see y minus 10 is the greatest common factor. If you pull that out, it's going to be 5x here. And then this is going to be plus y minus 10. That's it. Nothing you can do, sir. What part is difficult here?
The square part, like y minus 10.
Yeah, took y minus 10 out, then it's going to be y minus 10 here. It's like an x squared. So if you want to visualize, let's do this. So what I'm going to do, we're going to put y minus 10 as some a, okay? So this question is 5x times a plus a squared, isn't it? If I replace the y minus 10 by a, so how do we factor this? We take a as a common factor, so 5x plus a, isn't it? Okay. Any other questions? There are questions from textbook too. We will come back to the textbook questions. First, check these ones out. No questions here that you don't have trouble with? Is it 1-9?
1i.
1i, okay. So 1i, I'm going to write this here so you can see it. A squared minus a cubed 2x minus 3c. All right. So what do you have to do, Kishore, to factor this? Okay, what is the greatest common factor here? Yes, a. So we talk about here, you got a squared, you got a cubed. So when you got an a squared of a cubed, that you take the lowest exponent that is common, isn't it? So we have an a in both places. So a squared is common factor. If I take a squared as a common factor, 1 minus, because a squared is taken, 2x minus 3c. That's it. And if you want to write it nicely, without a bracket, 2ax plus 3ac. That's fine too. All right. Anything else? That's it. From 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the only questions difficult.
There's also 6 and 7.
Yes, on the 6 and 7, and you got the rest?
Yeah.
No problem at all, sir? All right. Well, if you have a question, you can ask. Did you cross-check the answer? The answers are here, man. Did you cross-check you got the right answers?
I didn't check that.
Okay, yes.
But can you scroll up there?
Is this one?
Let me just say that.
Oh, that's the A one. Oh, where is it? Oh, okay. There we go. All right, so that's being said, we're going to go back to the textbook. So let's go back to the textbook questions. The other student, she went to Sri Lanka. So I think she will join next week, but she's probably flying now. So that's why I'm recording my lesson. So she can watch. All right, so grade 11 functions textbook. Where's my grade 11 MCR 3? MCR 3 Nelson function. Okay, cool. So, factoring polynomials. Well, there's a lot of interesting questions there. And you should have a question. So on the textbook question, you don't have any problem in textbook questions, sir? No questions on textbook problem? No questions on the textbook questions?
Wait, what page is that?
This is the factoring units. This is page 103, 104, and 102.
I thought you said
Oh, I didn't assign the homework from the factoring. Which pages I signed?
88, 95, but I already did that.
Hold on. So that was part of 88 to
95.
88 to 95. Okay, 95 is just expand and simplify.
We did that like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so I think that I just didn't say that page number for that factoring on the textbook. All right. So what we want to going back to, we want to see that if you guys can able to do some of the textbook factoring questions. So there are some easy questions and there are some difficult questions. So let's get started from. So what I want to do is, I think that I can download this. That's my download option. Download. Open it. Okay, I just can open it, see I can edit it. I don't know if anyone open it. Oh, you guys not, you guys not seeing the question, so how do you, okay. Let's see if you can see the question. Not really seeing the question. Well, you've seen the question on things. All right. So let's point back to simple questions to deal with in factoring. So pretty straightforward factoring here. Factoring by regrouping is pretty straightforward. All right. All right. You're going to do 4F. 4F. What I will do is I will take the screenshot and then put that in mine. So put that in here so you can see it. So MCR3, yes, that's in the right place. Okay. MCR3, you should become over here on title. All right, so you guys are gonna do for me 4F. 4F. Factor complexity. Done? The question doesn't ask to simplify, so say factorial. That's not the process. Factorial. It's not asked to simplify. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Factor. The final expression is supposed to be as a product form. And you don't need to simplify the factor. So this is where you guys need to be applied their skills you have learned. Factoring, what's going on factoring, what you have to do first step. You are also opening a bracket. The question never asks to open a bracket. Not sure why you're going to open a bracket, right? So what is the first step in factoring? Data's come in factor, isn't it? But before we move in back to data's come in factor, we also need to do one thing. So the next thing we're going to do if we can able to factor this expression, we're going to factor that out also. So 4t. And then we can use our cross method. So what the cross method, we want a product of 2, isn't it? And the sum of 4, isn't it? So we're going to ask ourselves, is it possible to get that? Can we factor it? Can I able to factor 42? No. So this is going to be, this is not factorable. Now we're going to going back to, so there's nothing I can do with that. So I'm going to keep that t squared plus 4t plus 2. Now, before I move on, I'm going to ask myself, can I factor this? So let's go back to 3t squared minus 6t 17. So how do we break down in that method that we talked about last class? We need to looking for the factors of 3, isn't it? And then factors of 17. So factors of 3 is 3 and 1. Factors of 17 is 1 and 17 or 17 and 1, isn't it? Do you think is there any way I should be able to get my 6 in the middle? Because 3 times 7 is going to be 51. There's no way I can get the 6 in the middle. So what we did first, we check it, is it possible to factor that expressions inside? Because we know that we cannot, then we're going to take the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor is going to be 2t, isn't it? Because you got a 4t, you got a 2t, isn't it? I just follow that. So if I got a 2t, then I'm going to write what I can write here. So this is going to be 2 times t squared plus 4t plus 2, right? Because I take the 2t out, then this is going to be 3t squared minus 6t plus 17, isn't it? I just follow that. Any question on that step? When I take the 2t as a common factor? Are you following that? When I take the 2t as a common factor, what's happening? All right. Now we're going to open a bracket. So this is 2t still outside. This is going to be 2t squared plus 8t plus 4 minus 3t squared plus 6t minus 17. Make sense? Next step. Now we're going to be just factor inside, so 2t. So we got 2t squared minus t squared. We got 8t plus 6t is going to be plus 14t. And then plus 4 minus 13 is going to be minus 13. And you following that so far? So, now, we don't really like the minus in front of t squared. So what we can do, it's called taking -1 as a common factor. If I take -1 as a common factor, this negative 2t, this will become a positive t squared. This will become negative 14t. This is going to become positive 13. Make sense? I'll just follow that. All right, now we're going to go back to the cross method. So t squared, so we want to factor inside. T squared only factored 1 times 1. There's no other choice, right? Now I'm going to get a 13. Well, you really see 13 as a prime number. So only way you can write is 13 times 1. Now the question here is, can I get the negative 14 in the middle? Let's do this. Let me put negative here, right? Or let me put negative here. Let me put negative 13. Let me put negative 13 and negative 1. When I cross multiply, I get a negative 1. When I cross multiply, I get negative 13. I got negative 14, isn't it? Are you following that? And if you multiply negative 13 times it by negative 1, what would you get? I mean, negative 13 times negative 1, you're going to get positive 13, isn't it? Kishore, are you following that? All right, so that's being said, this one can be factored further. T minus 1 times t minus 13. You see how do we do that? Hello? So you got to be really careful what the question is asking for, right? So Adam, right? No, yes, okay. All right, so let's go back to another question from the textbook, factoring. All right, can you guys do 5C? I see. Good answer? All right, let's see the steps. Try to figure out. Okay. So which for which number? Or which numbers? All of them mean 6 and 9 and 324. Okay. So this is where the challenge comes, right? So if you're not really quite good with your timetable and the divisibility rule, this is going to be an issue. So I look at this stack, which is 6. I look at a 90. Well, if you know your timetable, you can decide that the 60 can be divisible by 90, right? So if I do your mental math, 9, 10, 1 is going to just 30, it's going to be 15, isn't it? No, yes. So 90 is divisible by 6. So if these two are divisible by 6, then we're going to ask, can I divide this one by 6? So how to do that? So 324, you can quickly divide it by 6 to see if we're divisible by 6. On this end of the technique, you can add all the digits. 3 plus 2 is 6 plus 4, 9, right? So this is the end of the divisibility rule for 6. If the number is divisible by 2 and 3, then this is divisible by 6. We know it's an even number, so it's divisible by 2. When you add the digits together, 3 plus 2 plus 4, it became 9. If the sum of the digit is 9, which is divisible by 9, right? And also by 3. So because it's divisible by 2 and 3, we know it's divisible by 6. So clearly you can take a greatest common factor as 6. Make sense? Three times 5, 58. Follow that. It's 54. 3 times 5 is 30. 24, yes, 54. Now what do? We can go back to our method that we know. So we want to looking at 1 m. There's no choice. It's going to be 1 and 1. Now I need to design my 54 to get 15. 8 times 7. No, 8 times 7 is 56. So it's going to be 9 times 6. If I put 9 and 6, and if I put minus 9 and minus 6, we know minus 9 times it by minus 6 is positive 54. And minus 6 plus minus 9 is negative 15, isn't it? I'm following that. So we can write it 6 m minus 9 times m minus 6. So for a second. All right. So can you guys do C and F? How was the programming assignment? Because of volunteer work? Okay. What you're doing volunteering? Did you need to prepare something? Are you teaching?
I'm teaching and helping other staff members.
So they're running a summer camp?
Yeah.
Ah, so you had to do some preparation at home.
I just like help with the staff needs.
You don't understand how to factor it. That's not what the question is? Okay. How about you? You finished sheet. Okay. Let's see if you got that completely right. So you will get some marks, but not full mark. So we'll talk about what that means. So when we say factor, you had to factor as much possible. So when you see two terms and there's a minus sign in the middle, you had to think about this should be in this form, a squared minus b squared. 2 times, and then minus sign. This is the possibilities. Now, we know this is factored in the a plus b time a minus b, isn't it? Okay. Now, if you look at the question, it is not quite on that form yet. We don't have something squared minus something squared. We don't have it, right? If we have it, that's great. Then you're going to ask yourself, is it possible to make that happen? So what we're going to do right now, we're going to make that happen. You can write this x to the power of 4 whole thing squared. And 1, you can massage the way you want. You can write 1 squared, 1 cube, whatever you wanted to call. I can write 1 is 1 squared. 1 squared is 1. 1 to the power of 4 is 1. 1 to the power of 6 is 1, isn't it? So by doing this massage, what I did it, I got the 2 on the top. You see that? So this is became the same format. But now the A is this, B is this, isn't it? So A plus B time A minus B. A plus B time A minus B. Now, there's nothing you can do with this guy, but if you see minus in the middle, you need to ask yourself with the 2 times, can you factor for that? We're going to do the same magic again. You can rewrite that x squared whole thing squared minus 1 squared. See that? X squared minus 1, isn't it? So this one can be further factored into x squared, x plus 1 times x minus 1. Are you following that? Are you guys following that? What's happening? Do you see the technique? All right. So can you guys go back to the next question, please? F. Are you done with F, sir? Okay, look at the F. Done? Hanging. I can give a hint. It is still difference of squares. It's still that questions involve a squared minus b squared format. It's still the a squared minus b squared format questions. So rewrite that because in front of 81 you have positive 81, isn't it? Can you rewrite that as 81 minus b squared q squared? So from there, you can rewrite that for 81 minus b squared q squared, isn't it? Now think about difference of squares. Think about difference of squares at this point. 81. Can you write that something squared? What squared is 81? What is 5 squared? 6 squared? 7 squared? Time table. Huh? 9 squared, yes. All right, so how that's one. So what is this? What is this? Where is going? This is correct. And then this is correct. What are you doing here? That's it. Don't you have to factor? No, you cannot. That's it. That's it. 9 minus PQ, 9 plus PQ, that's it. Because there's no square on the PQ term, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can only start it if there's if you have full of squares. Okay. So it's all right. We can express 81 as 9 squared. This is P squared, Q squared. We can write it PQ whole thing squared. Isn't it? So that's an exponent I'm teaching for the grade 9 classes. So 9 minus PQ times 9 plus PQ. Just follow that. All right. So now, well, the textbook questions are important. So can you guys do E? E, do E. E required some in the syntactic. Ding, ding. Okay. All right. So, still figuring out. So yes, again, what is the first step in factor? Find the greatest common factor. Did you guys find the greatest common factor here? What is the greatest common factor? Oops, I'm writing this. What is the greatest common factor? 3. So if I take 3 out, I got x squared. If I get a 3 out, this is going to be 9, 2 minus x whole squared, isn't it? Are you seeing that? Okay. Can I rewrite 9 as 3 squared? Yes or no? Huh? Now, when we have a square and square, we can write the square as a common factor. So 3 times 2 minus x, whole thing squared, isn't it? A squared minus b squared. So this is 3 times x plus 3 times 2 minus x, and then x minus 3 times 2 minus x. Are you seeing that? A plus b times a minus b. Following that? Well, we can simplify that further. 6 minus 3x, x minus 6 plus x. Can I move on? No, yes? Okay, all right. So we're gonna going back to the lesson. We're gonna come back to do some practice questions. So the lesson continuing from last week handout. So what we're gonna see today is I think I introduced this lesson. So we're gonna going back to see how we can simplify. So we talk about the simplification process. So let's recall. When we dividing a polynomial by a polynomial, the denominator cannot be 0. So if you look at this example, 3x minus y divided by xy is not defined when x is equal to 0 or y is equal to 0. Are you just following that? Why it is not defined? Because you don't have a denominator be 0. Similarly, in the second one, the denominator cannot be 0. So Kishore, can you tell me for what value of y plus 5 won't be 0? For what value of y, the y plus 5 won't be 0? Fine. 5, but 5 plus 5 is 10. Minus 5. So y is not defined when y is equal to minus 5, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to see that how we can simplify polynomial expression. And then we're going to state the restriction. So let's going back to the first step. 16 over 24. We can simplify simply the numbers. So 16 and 24 can be simplified 4. You got 4. And then you're going to get here, if I divide it by 4, it's going to be 6. I think that we can simplify by 8, which I didn't do it. So if I do the 8, it's going to be 2. If I do the 8, 3. Now, a cubed divided by a, it's going to be a to the power of 3 minus 1, which is 2 over 3, a squared. Now, the question is, what is the restriction here? You see that I am dividing by a, isn't it? I divided by a. You cannot divide the number by 0. You see that? Are you seeing the first part? All right. Now, the second part has to simplify. So if you want to simplify, you can only cancel the factors. So how to do that simplification? We need to factor the top term. So 4x squared minus 72x cubed plus 16x to the power of 4. So what is the greatest common factor, Aaron, for that expression?
4.
Only 4?
Yeah.
How about x squared, sir? Because you got x squared, x cubed, x to the power of 4. Can I take x squared as a common factor? All right. So we can take 4x squared as a common factor, isn't it? So that means it's going to be minus, if I divide it by 4, 4 times 1 is going to be 4, 32, 4, 8. So x and plus 4 x squared divided by 4x squared. Now you can obviously see that 4 plus 4 can be divided, x squared can be divided. But the only time you can do this when x is not equal to 0, because you try to divide it by x squared, the x squared will be 0 when x is 0. Are you guys following that? How do you put the restriction? Following that? You're following that, sir? All right, let's go back to the next one. So we can simplify by simply 4 is going to be -6. And then this is going to be c to the power of 2 and d to the just d. So what's the restriction? You divide it by c, you also divide it by d. The restriction, d cannot be 0, c cannot be 0. Make sense? Are you just following that? So for a second, all right. So now we're going to go back to a little complex one, how to simplify. So the complex ones is something like that. So if you want to simplify a polynomial expression, we call this rational expression because it's a fraction of polynomial. First step, you have to factor it. You all know how to factor it. So this is x squared minus 7x 15. 15 is going to be 3 times 5, so we can do x minus 3. 15, 5 times 3. So x minus 5 and then x plus 3. So that will give me that top expression. On the denominator, you got 12. So that is going to be x minus 4 times x plus 3, isn't it? Are you just following that? Now, if you can see, there's the same factor in the numerator and denominator, which is x plus 3, isn't it? So the final answer is going to be x minus 4, x minus 4. What the restriction? I cannot divide if x plus 3 is 0, isn't it? So in another way, x plus 3 should not be 0. So that means x should not be minus 3, isn't it? But also, if you look at the denominator, we got something in the denominator, isn't it? So you can see that there's an expression on the denominator. The expression in the denominator also cannot be 0. So x cannot be 4. Are you guys following that? Hello? All right. Did you guys get that? If you guys get that, can you do B? Can you do C? And then we'll come back to D. Factor the expression. Factor the expression, numerator and denominator, and then see what are the common factors in the numerator and denominator to simplify. Are you taking over summer school? Are you taking over summer school? You guys use a Google Classroom, not Brightspace. So I also checking on the other people communication on Brightspace, grade 12 advanced function class. Asked one of the kid I told, hey man, can you please create an Instagram chat channel? So he created an Instagram chat channel and then they have been chatting back and forth on there.
We just use the chat.
Right?
We just use the chat.
But this one is just to cheat. They just basically create a chat channel and then just, what they didn't know is any communication they do through the Brightspace, I can keep track. No one knows. I can go back and check. If you send an email to the Brightspace to another student, I can go back and check what you sent. And I got the link today. I just get access to it to see what they get, what do they actually do. I'll make fun of them in the school start. I'll be poking at each one of them. All right, so you done? You didn't do B. What's wrong with B? You can further do B. This one, 2U6, 9, 2, that's correct. Got 2, and then you got 2 plus, you got 2 plus 6, 8, 8, correct. So that's correct. That's correct. Correct. That's right. 2, that's correct. So that's the. Two XY. You're almost there. You can factor that further. Yes, you can factor. You have different subscripts, isn't it? 1 minus x squared is k minus 1 squared. Can you factor it? Yeah. Just factor it. Let's see how it's doing. What you guys do here? You say x squared. So if you take x squared out, 3 minus. If you take x squared, 3x. Okay, that's correct. But can you take the 3 out? When you have a 3 in both places. Okay, take 3x squared out, isn't it? So it's 1 minus x, isn't it? And then just back to the denominator. All right, so as they say, factoring is 50% of your math, isn't it? Factoring is 15% of your math. So you had to be really good at this factoring. All right, so you get stuck in there. So let's go back there. First 3x squared. If I take 3x squared, what I got? 1 minus, I got 3x, isn't it? Here I can take x as a common factor, x squared minus 1, isn't it? Are you following that? All right. Now, before I even simplify this, I'm going to factor my denominator, guys. This is x plus 1 time x minus 1, isn't it? Are you following that? Yes? All right. But I see that these two are exactly the same, except that they switch around. So why do we do it? 1 minus x, x minus 1. We can take a minus as a common factor. If I take the minus as a common factor out, I can rewrite that as going to be x minus 1. X plus 1 times x minus 1. Have you seen the technique how that taking the minus as a common factor change that 1 minus x to x minus 1? Because if 1 minus x multiplied by minus 1 plus x, isn't it? Are you following that? All right. Now I'm going to simplify, guys. I can simplify by x. So x cannot be 0. I can simplify by x minus 1. X cannot be 1. So what's the final answer? Minus 3x over x plus 1. Right? There's one more thing. X cannot be negative 1 because on the denominator, I got x plus 1, isn't it? That denominator cannot be 0 either. Right? So you're living close to Scarborough, Pennsylvania? So is that the place where Woburn kids hang around? Where do you guys hang around? Which plaza?
It's like where Popeyes, Chinatown.
Oh yeah, that plaza. Popeyes there. It's on Elsmere. And then just right next to the plaza, the Martin Bakery. Oh, Quality Bakery. All right, so that's done. Now we need to do the factoring of the other one. So how would you factor that? 6v squared. So he has done it. So how would you factor 6v squared plus 11v plus 11v plus 3? So what do? We go back to the cross method, isn't it? Are you following that? So cross method. So we want 6. How do you get 6? Well, I can get 6 is 2 times 3. Right? One option. How do I get 3? Well, the only option is 1 times 3. Now the question is, will that give, if I write it, 11? 3 times 6 is 6 plus 3? No, that won't give. But let me switch this. Let me switch this guy. Let me switch the 3 and 1 all the way around. If I do 3 here and 1 here, let's do this time. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 1 is 2. 9 plus 2 is 11, isn't it? So therefore, I can rewrite that is 2x plus 3 times 3x plus 1. Are you following that? Okay. So that's 6x squared, 2x plus 9x. So you can do the similar technique for the bottom. You got 4 and 3. Well, all you need to know is there's nothing I can do for the 3. I can write 3 is 1. 4, what I can do? 1 times 4. Or I can write 2 times 2, isn't it? So that's give me the 8. 2. 6 plus 2 is 8. So how do I factor that? 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 1. Now these two cancel, right? So that tells 2x plus 3 cannot be 0. So x cannot be negative 3 over 2, isn't it? Are you following that? Okay. And also on the denominator, we got 2x plus 1. So can I have 2x plus 1 is 0? No. So 3x plus 1 over 2x plus 1. So the next one is a little challenging one. How do you, can you factor D? Can we factor D, Kishore? Do you think we can factor D, denominator, numerator? How do we factor numerator? What's the technique? What is the technique that what? I have been mentioning how many terms we have. Huh? How many terms in the denominator we have? How many terms? Only 2 terms. You need to count how many minus and plus separated them. There are 2 terms. You got a minus sign, but you got a 2 term with a minus sign in the middle. We had to think about this is going to be in the format of a squared minus b squared, isn't it? So, and then you can obviously say there's got a 4 there, which is 2 squared x squared minus 3 squared y squared. We will deal with that later. Now, obviously, you can see 2x whole thing squared minus 3y whole thing squared. So this is going to be 2x plus 3y. 2x minus 3y, isn't it? Now, how do I factor the bottom part? So here's the technique. You got an xy. Forget about the y. Take out the y. So if you take out the y, this is exactly what you get, isn't it? 2x squared plus x minus 3. If I just ignore the y. How do you factor that? Well, let's go back to the factoring. So what I want, 1 and 2. Minus 3. How do we get a minus 3? So we can get a minus 3 by just taking 3 and 1. But we can ask ourselves, so 3 and 1. So if I put 3 and 1 for minus 3, I'm going to ask myself, will I able to get the middle term? Will I able to get the middle term x? So let's do the math. 3 times 2 is 6 minus 1. Doesn't work, isn't it? It is not really giving me the answer I'm looking for. So what will be the option for me to just play around? So I don't really want a 2 multiplied here. 1 second, I can respond to the phone. Hello. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I'll just delete that. No, there should be, so I can't. Yeah. Oh, sure, right, it's always in transfer. Sure. Yeah. I will, sure. Okay, no problem.
Right, so where we are, all right. Did we factor that? What we're gonna do, we're gonna switch the 2 and 1, isn't it? So if I switch the 2 and 1, what will happen? 2 goes here, 1 comes here, isn't it? So then you can say 2 minus 3. So now the question is I need positive 1x. So it's always better to put the larger one positive number. Make sense? So this will be factored into 2x plus 1. And then 2x plus 1. No, what I'm doing, 2x plus 1, did I go, am I not correct? No, 2x plus 3, my bad. We go in this way. 2x plus 3, and then we're going to go back to x plus x minus 1. Are you following that? Now, all I'm going to do, I'm going to put the y. So 2x plus 3y times x minus y, that's it. You see that? How to factor it? Can we chop this? Are they same factor? So what is that condition? 2x plus 3y cannot be 0, isn't it? So that means 2x not equal to negative 3y if you move it. But we also see on the denominator we got x minus 5. So x cannot be 5. Following that? Are you following that stuff? All right. I need to go back to the textbook questions, but I want to move on to my lesson. So we will come back to the textbook questions to deal with this. Now, the next step is going to be, if you understand that, we're going to going back to see how we should be able to multiply and divide rational expression. That's what we're going to do. Same step, just nothing fancy, pretty easy. So let me show you how we can able to do the first one. Same idea. So 4 can be simplified here. X can be simplified here to get x cubed. So I got x cubed y over 3 times 3, just 9. The condition is x cannot be 0. Did you guys get that first part? Are you following that, sir?
You gotta take condition x equal to 0.
Because you divide by x here to get x here. Anything that you're dividing. So when you do, so what we did in grade 9 class, we don't really just state the restriction. So you have done this in grade 9 classes. You say the x squared. But what we are doing is we're dividing the numerator by x cubed. So you cannot divide a number by 0, right? That's why we put in a restriction. Okay. So now let's go back to the next one. Pretty straightforward. So all we need to do is we just going to be chop it off. So let's watch the numbers first. So I got a 2, a 3. That's gone. Nothing I can do with the numbers. So now I got 4 over 9. Now I got a cubed, a squared. So if I can do the a squared, this is going to become a. Then I got b cubed, b squared. So if I do that, it's going to become b. The c is going to be on the bottom, right? Because you got a c, that c will be canceled using exponent rule. Well, I can write the steps. So let me write the steps. So if you guys confused what we're going to do, this is 2 times 4 divided by 3 times 6. And a cubed minus a squared. A cubed minus 2. B cubed minus 2. And then c on the bottom, c 2 minus 1. Because I got an exponent large on the denominator, isn't it? All right. Now we can simplify these numbers, guys. So 4 over 9, it's a b over c. Restriction. A cannot be 0, B cannot be 0, C cannot be 0, isn't it? Are you following that technique? Hello? Okay, can you just do the C this time? Factor it, cancel the term, okay? Done? You confused why the conditions?
Yeah, like, how do you get the conditions
For this one,
for C?
the C?
Yeah.
The why C is not equal to 0? Oh, how to get a condition for that?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see whether she's factored first. Did you factor it? What you try to do? 36. Alright, so you need a massive factoring. Okay, well, that's why the textbook questions comes to play. Otherwise, E sum is scope. Alright, so you have to master factoring. So x squared minus 9. Difference of squared, isn't it? So that is going to be x plus 3 times x minus 3. This is going to be x plus 2 times x minus 2. Difference of squares. Make sense? Are you following that? This comes by practice. This is absolutely by practice. There's no magic here. You need to identify the pattern. Now, can I cancel x plus 3, sir? Do we have both numerator and denominator? That means x plus 3 cannot be. 0x cannot be. -3. Now, we got x plus 2 and 1x plus 2, isn't it? Because you can divide it by x plus 2 and x plus 2. So, that means x plus 2 cannot be 0, isn't it? So, x cannot be -2. Make sense? Are you seeing that? Now we see on the denominator, everything is good. Everything is clear. X minus 3 times x minus 2. And you got x plus 2. Following that? All right, so we're gonna go back to the next question. So the next question requires a complete factor. Did you factor it, sir? Almost done. Okay, can you factor it? Kishori, factor this, factor this, factor this, factor this. So you have to factor all 4 terms. When you understand that, the division is nothing. It's just switching the reciprocal. Done? You said you didn't go to Kumon? Using math? Are you in the specialized program at school? Which school you attending, sir? Okay. So you teach about the total factoring level in grade 10. And then you don't have any tutor before?
So, like I went to like different students before.
Where do you go?
It's like
Random people? Your house or that just online?
at their house,
Where? You don't know. Are they teachers at school or
like previous teachers.
previous teachers where? Retired teachers?
No, like she's like a substitute teacher.
Okay. So you got your factoring, which is great. So factoring is something that people start looking, okay, what's going on here? You got the first part right. You got the second part right. Okay. So now you're on a T method. Okay. So this requires a lot of practice, tens of thousands of practice. So you got the first 2 parts correct. So at least you're getting that sense. So we can factor x plus 4 times x minus 4, which is you got it right. You also know that how to get a common factor, which is correct. So far, so good. Now the T method. So what do we need? We need minus 10, isn't it? Well, minus 10, 3. The only way you can factor 3 is 3 and 1, isn't it? So I'm going to say 1 and 3. Now, well, I need a 1x. So how are you going to 1x? I'm going to going back to put, if I'm going to put 10 as 2 and 5. So think about if I put 2 and 5. This is 6, and then I got 1. So that makes sense. And I need a positive x. So I will put this going to be positive 5. This is negative 2. No. So what I need positive x. 6 minus 5 is 1. So it's going to be other way around. So everything is good. Everything is good. All I'm going to do, I'm going to keep, okay, let me rewrite that. So 1 and 3 I put, right? And then I put 2 and 5. So I want positive x. 3 times 2 is 6, minus 5 is 1, isn't it? So that can be factored easily using our method x plus 2, 3x minus 5. All right, let's go back to the last chart method, 3 and 1, or 1 and 3, 4 and 5. So let's see if I can get 17 minus 5. I can't really get anything. So then I'm going to switch my strategy, 5 and 4. So 15 and 4, not going to be give me the 9. So then I'm going to move the 3 and 1 with the 4 and 5. So let's see the 4 and 5 will work, right? So this is going to be 15, 4. So I can't really get a 17 out of it, isn't it? Are you seeing that? We can't really get a 17 by going that 4 and 5. Makes sense? So then we need to explore the other factor. So what's the other factor possible for 20? So we put 1 and 3. So we can go back to 10 and 2, isn't it? So I'm going to go back 10 and 2, 2 and 10. 10 and 2. How do you want to go back 2 and 10? I need 17. So 2 and 10, 6, 10 won't work. Then you can switch it back to the other way around. 10 and 2, which is 20. But you can see that that is not going to give because 32, isn't it? 32. So sometimes the cross method is not quite going to be worked out easily. So what do we do? Technically, we want the product of 3 and 20, 60, break into 17. So 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15 and 60. Yes. Now I already got the 17. Did you see 3 and 20 will work? Because 3 minus 20, what would I get? 3 minus 20. 20 minus 3, 17. And we're looking for 17, isn't it? That's supposed to be a middle term. So because I got this, so I know that it's going to be, I need 3 times 20. So we're going to ask ourselves, so how do I get the 20? Well, that we put the factors of 3 is going to be 1 and 3. You can't really do anything. 1 and 3. So I try to see my numbers. What did I put in the beginning? And try to show this chart. 10 and 2, 24 and 5, 4 and 5, 12 and 7. Yes, that's here we go. So we can put, if I put both of them minus, this is going to be minus 5. This is minus 12. Minus 5 minus 12 is going to be negative 17, isn't it? So how do I factor it? That is going to be x minus 4, 3x minus 5. Now, you can see there are so many things can cancel. 3x minus 5 is cancelled. X minus 4 is cancelled. Are you following that? So when we're canceling, we're going to specify the restriction. So x minus 4 cannot be 0. So x cannot be 4. 3x plus 5 cannot be 0. X cannot be negative 5 over 3. X plus 2 cannot be 0. So x cannot be negative 2. So those are the restrictions. So with the restriction applied, we can write the final answer x plus 4. And then they cancel these two. So x plus 2 over. Oh, there's a lot of term going. X plus 2, x plus 2, x minus 4, x minus 4, 3x minus 4 over 2. So what you get, sir? Okay. Well, so Kishore, you really need to master your factoring. Like, if anyone can factor something in 2 minutes for each question, then you're taking the wrong class. So any factoring, if you couldn't able to get in 2 minutes, simple factoring, sometimes you can get in 1 minute, then it's a big challenge because you're going to see the questions, all the questions you're going to see in grade 11 functions are factoring intensive. And then there's a challenge. Yes, that's why kids doesn't take us some of the math classes at school. Because we give a test, 1 hour and 10 minutes. Only the smartest kid can get the factoring done. And that is what you guys are gonna see when you go to the university and taking calculus, linear algebra, if you want to go by STEM related field. Okay, now we're gonna go back to the division. Division is easy. You know why division is easy? all I need to do is, I need to flip this. So minus 3a cubed over 7 times it by 21 over 12a to the power of 5. So when you're dividing a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal, isn't it? That's a rule of thumb. So let's play around with that. So 7, this is 3, this is 4. So we got, in terms of numbers, I got 3 over 4. The a is going to be sitting on the denominator, so a cannot be 0, right? So for a second, first one. So division is easy when you know the multiplication. So what do we do here? Well, we can factor it first. So it's going to be x plus 2 times x plus 1. And this is going to be x plus 3 times x plus 1. Times it by x squared plus x minus 6 over x squared minus 4. You see that what I'm doing is I'm factored the first part, and then I still keeping my the division part by switching it. So we're going to be factor the division part. So this is going to be times it by x minus 3, x plus 3 into x minus 2. So that is negative 6, positive x. You see how we factor it? Bottom part is going to be difference of squares, x squared minus 4. Okay, so now let me show you the terms that cancel. You got x plus 2, oops. You got x plus 2, x plus 2 gone. X plus 3, x plus 3 gone. X plus 1, x plus 1 gone. Whoo! Final answer is 1. But so many restriction apply, isn't it? So what are the restriction apply? X cannot be minus 2, x cannot be minus 1, x cannot be minus 3, x cannot be positive 2. So with all the restriction apply, your final number became beautiful 1. Just following. All right, so I'm not going to be work with C and D here. That's for you to play around. So I'm going to move back to talking about. So we see how to multiply and divide rational expressions. Now we're going to see the next part is adding and subtracting rational expressions. This is what we're going to see the next time. So that's the last part of this unit, because I just want to finish it so we can go back to the textbook questions. And then we're going to going back to functions that we left over last long time ago. So I will finish the function in 2 classes. So my goal is to finish functions the bigger unit. There's another crazy unit, quadratic relations. That's another unit. So if I finish that before you get back to school, so half of the calculus is done. And after that, there's a trigonometry that's required a whole month of learning trigonometry. You guys have learned trigonometry in grade 10, but here it's completely different trigonometry we talk about. All right. So when we want to add 2 fractions, what do we have to do? We have to check whether they have the same denominator. Do we have the same denominator? Yes, we do. So we are simply going to be added 2xy. We're going to simplify by 2. So that is going to be 6 over xy, restriction xy. X cannot be 0, y cannot be 0. Any question with that part? First part? Any question with the first question? All right. Now, second one, do we have the same denominator? Do we? Cool. So what do we do? Minus 5 plus 3x. Well, look, now nothing I can do, but there's a restriction. So what the restriction is, your 3x plus 5 cannot be 0. So x cannot be negative 5 over 3. Are you following the restriction? Okay. Next one. Do we have the same least common greatest common factor? I mean, do we have the same denominator? No. What is the least common multiple for 3 and 2 and 4? 1. I asked for the least common multiple. Well, you can go back to the prime factorization. I talk about it. It's 12. Okay, so I'm not going to go back to how to get that answer. But the least common multiple for 3 and 2 and 4 is 12. You can use the prime factorization to find the answer. So that means we need to find what times it by 3 is 12. So 3 times 4 is 12. So that 4x minus 3 will be 2x minus 3 will be times it by 4. 2 times 6, 6 times x plus 2. 4 times 3, 3 times x minus 1. Following that? Now we're going to simplify. So 8x minus 24 plus 6x plus 12 plus 3x minus 3 over 12. Collect the apples. 8 plus 6, 14 apples. 14 plus 3, 17 apples. Minus 24 minus 12 minus 3 minus 15 over 12. No restriction here because on the denominator you got number. What's up, sir?
Isn't it supposed to be minus 3 for the third? Either the minus sign in front of x minus 1 over 4.
So 8x minus 24 plus 6x plus 12 plus 3x minus 3.
No, like I'm talking about, like, you know where the original equation, yeah.
On the original equation there's a minus there. Yes. That minus. Okay, let me put that minus. And then put that minus. So that's going to be minus 3x plus 3. So that's going to be change the answer here. So 8x plus 6x is 14x minus 3x is 11x. Minus 24 minus 12 plus 3 minus 9 over 12. Okay, makes sense.
Also, it's supposed to be negative 12, not negative 24.
Negative 12, yes. Okay. So we got 14x, 11x. That's gone plus 3 over 12. No restriction here because on the denominator, what did you got? You got a number. So no restriction applied. So these three are pretty straightforward because we got either common denominator or we got numbers in the denominator, which is easy. So now comes, are you ready? Are you following that? All right. Now comes the problem. On the denominator, we do have the same denominator. On the next example, no. So if you don't have a same denominator, you need to find a common denominator. But to do that, you need to make sure you factor the denominator. Is that possible? So we can factor, guys, this one, t plus 2 times t minus 2, isn't it? Are you just following that? Yes?
Yep.
Okay. Now, how to find the greatest common factor? Least common multiple. Well, it is simply going to be all the possible polynomials sitting here. So I got t plus 2 sitting here, t plus 2 sitting here. So we will take the t plus 2. We will take the t plus 2. I have t minus 2 sitting here, but I don't have a t minus 2 here. So I will take t minus 2 as well. Did you guys get the idea? How do we get that? T plus 2 is common, we take it. We also take the one that's not common. Make sense? All right. I don't need to do anything for the 2t, but I have to multiply this one by the one that does not belong to. T plus 2 is there, t minus 2 is not there, isn't it? So minus 3t plus 10 over t plus 2, t minus 2. You cannot simplify this further, but rest can apply. Are you just following that? What is going on in the world? Okay. Yes, sir.
Why does the t minus 2 only apply to negative 5 and not to t?
So if you look at the first fraction, we got t plus 2 and t minus 2 already a factor.
Oh, okay.
Right? So technically, when you find the least common multiple, you need to divide it by this guy to tell what should I multiply that with.
Okay.
Right? Following that? Okay. But if you guys look at the next one, I don't have x plus 4 in both places. So I take x plus 4. I don't have x minus 1 in both places. So I will take x minus 1, isn't it? Make sense? So what would I do this time? The x minus 3 will be multiplied by the one that does not belong to the denominator. So x minus 3 times x minus 1 minus x minus 5 times x plus 4. Are you just following that? Yes, you sure? Follow that? Can you simplify that, please? Simplify by collecting likely terms. State the restriction. FOIL, collect the likely term and simplify, right? All right, let's see. Square. That's correct. Okay, keep going. But here's a. Okay, so problem here is A, so you open the bracket with the bracket. You can get plus minus after it. A stands is a minus here, isn't it? Okay. So this is a common extension. You see there's a minus here, isn't it? So if you open the bracket, it's going to be x squared. So you simplify that minus x minus 1. But you didn't see there's a minus in front of it. The whole thing will change. Okay. Okay, so you guys got how to open the bracket, no problem with that. So let me simplify that. So that is going to be x squared minus x minus 3x minus 4x plus 3 minus us here x squared plus 4x minus 5x minus x minus 20. So that's good. X squared minus 4x plus 3 minus x squared plus x plus 20. So x squared gone, minus 4x minus 3x plus 23 over x plus 4 times x minus 1. Restriction applied. X cannot be minus 4x cannot be 1. Are you just following that? Okay, can you just do the C for me, please? If you understand. C is tricky. Let's see if you can do it. C is a little tricky. Do they have the same common denominator? Do they have the same common denominator? Yes, no? I'm going to say they do. Let me show you. If I take a minus as a common factor out, I can rewrite this one as x minus 2. You see that how I changed my denominator by taking the minus as a common factor? Yes, sir? So do they have a common denominator now? Yes. So what's the restriction? X cannot be 2, make sense? Are you following that? Okay. So now we're gonna go back to a more complex example on this. Yes, that's almost finishing that unit, and then you got a unit 2 review, fun questions to work with. That's a different story. So this time, I don't want to show you what to do. You guys gonna do A for me. Factor it out, factor it out, factor out, factor out. Then find the greatest common factor. Almost done. So we can go back to some textbook questions. Done? You're not on the right track, sir. You have to factor the denominators. You cannot just proceed without factoring the denominator. So you gotta factor the denominator correct. But while you are putting them together, so you have to be really careful. You don't put that together in the next step. So let's go back here. So you factor it correctly. So first step, we're gonna factor x over 6, x plus 1, plus 5 over 4, x minus 3. I'm not sure, why do you merge them together? Why do you merge them together? You can, right? You see that, sir? Are you following that? Now the question here is, what is the least common multiple? We got numbers. What is the least common multiple for 6 and 4? What is the least common multiple for 6 and 4? Least common multiple for 6 and 4? That's the greatest common factor, lady. We're looking for the least common multiple. Prime factorization, but 6 and 4 is easy number. The least common, the common multiple for 6 and 4, and the smallest one is 12. You know how to get that one, prime factorization? 6 is 2 times 3. 4 is 2 times 2 squared, isn't it? So how do you find that? We find a common factor at the highest exponent and non-common one, which is 4 times 3, which give me 12. Make sense? Okay, so the least common multiple is 12. Now, we got x plus 1 one place. We don't have x plus 1 other place. So we got x plus 1. We got x minus 3. Are you guys following that? Are you just following that part? How do I find the least common multiple? All right. So this guy, I got 6. So, but I needed 12. So I need to multiply that with 2. But I don't have x minus 3. So that needed to be multiplied by 2 times x minus 3 times it by x plus 5 times 3 times x plus 1. So let's see, how do I get this? So least common multiple is 12. But I already have 6 here, isn't it? So how do I get to 12? I need to multiply by 2. So I multiply that term by 2. But I already have an x plus 1, but I don't have an x minus 3. But x minus 3 also the least common multiple. So I need to multiply by x minus 3, isn't it? Similarly, I got 4 here, but I got 12. So I need to multiply that term by 3. But I got x minus 3, but I don't have an x plus 1 there. So I multiply by x plus 1. Makes sense? Yes, no? Okay. Can you just simplify that? That's the next step. So what do we got? 2x squared minus 6x plus 15x plus 5, 15. So it's a restriction. X cannot be minus 1. X cannot be 3. Make sense? Does it make sense? Restrictions. There's nothing I can do for the top, isn't it? Are you following what's happening? Okay, now let's go back to the logic. Can you do B? Back to the denominator first, back to the denominator. Let's see, my YouTube live is working. Should be. And then give us a little. Oh. What we're gonna say today is we understand discussion. So based on that, all right, guys, bye guys. I guess it's the public. All good? Done? Simplified completely? What's up? Yeah, we're going back. Let's see what's going on. Right there. We're still factoring? Yes. All right. So, the factoring part is something that you need to speed up, right? So let's going back here. So I know how to factor that. I'm gonna skip the steps. You can use the box method as going to be x plus, we want 4x plus 4 times x plus 1. Because 4 times 1 is 4, and then 4 plus 1 is 5, isn't it? And the next one we need to think about is x minus 4 minus 3. So how do I get it? So I can get x minus 4 plus x plus 1. Because negative 4x plus 1x is negative 3x, isn't it? All right, so I need to squeeze the space to clean it up. So you know what? I'm going to clean that space. This is I'm showing how to get a prime factorization. So now we're going to go back to the least common multiple. So we take everything is common and everything is not common. So x plus 4 is not common, we take it. X minus 4, not common, we take it. X plus 1 is common, we take it. So when you look at that, this guy, we already have x plus 4 and x plus 1. So only term is missing is x minus 4. So we will times it by x minus 4. This one 3 times, we got x minus 4, x plus 1. So the only term is missing x plus 4, isn't it? Are you following that? So now 2x minus 8 plus 3x plus 12. So that is going to be 5x plus 4. Restriction, x cannot be 4, x cannot be negative 4, x cannot be negative 1. All right, that's for your homework, guys. You need to follow the same step. And the last part is your homework. Again, just follow the same step. So you got a good amount of questions on here with this unit review. So in this unit, what we have learned is we talk about polynomials. We then went back to do all the different type of factoring and then simplifying rational expression, right? Multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting. So the homework question you guys are gonna work on all the pages here. You're gonna do the homework questions here, but don't look at the answers, and also a unit review. So that's being said, what we want to do, we want to do some of the practice questions. We can go back to textbook question or just practice questions. So in the textbook, these are 6 point, 2.4, 2.5, 2.6. I really want to go back to some textbook questions to see how we can be able to do some questions. So let's work on textbook problems, especially when I'm going back to some. Let me move this. So I want to discuss some of the word problem. So this is go to the right place. Done. Done. So to folder is great. So that should be here on title. All right. So you guys going to do number 8. Number 8. Did you understand the question?
Yeah, I don't understand.
What? You didn't? Did you?
No, I don't.
All right. We're talking about an isosceles triangle. So this is an isosceles triangle. Two sides are equal. The equal side is 9x plus 3, isn't it? You see that? Now, we don't know the third side. Let's call the third side as S. But we know the perimeter. Do we know the perimeter? So what's the perimeter of the isosceles triangle? 30x plus 10, isn't it? Can I able to find the S? Yes? So we can find the S. How do I find the S? From the total perimeter, I have to subtract the two equal sides, isn't it? Kishore, are you following that? From the total perimeter, if I subtract that. So let's do the math to get that in.
Isn't it 30x?
Oh yeah, 30x. Did they say 30x? Oh yes, 30x. Okay, I will fix that 30x. So that is going to be 12x plus 4. Well, we can factor this one out. If I do 4x as a common factor, what would I get? 3x plus 1, isn't it? Now this is my base, isn't it? This is the base, bottom, isn't it? Now they want ratio of the base to the perimeter. So base to the perimeter, base to the perimeter. Perimeter is 30x plus 10. That's the ratio they're looking for. But we have to factor the denominator, isn't it? Can we factor the denominator? Yes or no? Can I factor the denominator, guys? Can I take 10 as a common factor? 3x plus 1, isn't it? 3x plus 1, 3x plus 1 down, 4 divided by 10. If I simplify, it's going to be 2 over 5. Restriction, 3x plus 1 cannot be 0. So x cannot be negative 1 over 3. Makes sense? Are you seeing that? Yes, no, no, yes. Now, the last question is asking, the part B to that question is asking, explain why the restriction is necessary. So, if there's no restriction applied, then you're dividing by 0. And you cannot divide it by 0, isn't it? Make sense? Okay. And also you can say the restriction applied. You have the bottom representing the perimeter, isn't it? 3. So perimeter cannot be 0, isn't it? Can we have a perimeter 0? No. All right. That's an easy question. So let's go back to my one more question here on the list. Thinking question, I like it. Consideration looks. Okay, we're gonna go back to the multiplication. So this is exploring graph of rational function. We will come later. It's not something big deal on grade 9. So let's going back to multiplication, division, and word problem. All right, guys. So let's do this. That's being done. Photos. Number 9. Number 9. Determine the area of the triangle in simplified form. State the restrictions. The area of the triangle is base times height divided by. This is here. And this is here. How's that going? Half time base time divided by 2. So, okay, you wrote that question right, but where's the 1/2? Huh? So you wrote the expression right, but you're missing the 1/2, right? Base time height divided by 2, isn't it? So 1/2 time 5x minus 35 over x plus 3 time 4x squared over x squared minus 16x plus 63, isn't it? So what do we need to do? We have to factor it, cancel the likely terms, cancel the term and simplify, isn't it? So half time, 5 is a common factor, x minus 7 over x plus 3, nothing you can do for that guy, over x squared, right? 63, 9 times 7, isn't it? X minus 7 times x minus 9. Are you guys following that? Are you following that, Kishore? X minus 7 gone. X, the 2 is gone. And then here, so you got 10x squared over x plus 3 times x minus 9. So, in addition to the worksheet as your homework, the textbook is in Google Classroom. You need to do 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, 2.7. That is basically that chapter 2 is. Well, if you don't do the homework questions, you can't really master the skills. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of sacrifice needed, right? So that's the only way you can learn math. So if you can't do the homework questions, we will revisit back to functions again. So we will revisit the functions. Then we will go back to programming. So my goal is we should be able to finish 4 main chapters. Then if I finish the 4th main chapter, then there's 1 unit of trigonometry and 1 unit of exponential function.